Welcome to our spring 2025 trip to Sacramento and Lake Tahoe. In May, we had a family event we attended in Sacramento. Since it was a 3-day weekend, which gave us an extra day, we decided we'd take a little day drive over to Lake Tahoe. We took an evening flight on Friday, and after a day with family events on Saturday, we took off to Lake Tahoe on Sunday. Our route started from our hotel east of the city and then went through the Cascade Mountains to Lake Tahoe, the Nevada border, and back. Being spring, it was warm but not terribly hot, and as usual in the Central Valley, sunny. Once we got out of the Central Valley, we left the big 4-lane highways behind and ended up on this cute little 2-lane highway. It was Saturday of a 3-day weekend, so I think we were pretty lucky in not having too much traffic to follow. There were a lot of tiny little small mountain towns that were really fun to drive by, and we did see the occasional set of folks doing something outdoorsy like kayaking or parking for a hike. The views when we got to the top of the pass were quite expansive and very pretty. It was a very sunny day though, so it wasn't great for photos, so we just kept driving. Traffic picked up quite a bit when we got to South Lake Tahoe, but it wasn't too bad. Before finding parking in the busy part of town to grab some lunch, we decided we would go take a look at the lakeside. After hanging out by the lake for a bit and then grabbing some lunch, we decided to head back out on the road. Since we hadn't done a bunch of research for our trip around Lake Tahoe, we were a little surprised to see a bunch of casinos right across the Nevada border. Thankfully, this section wasn't very long and we were soon back out on the open road. Since it was still spring, the tops of the mountains were covered in snow and gave us a spectacular view out over the lake. I had bookmarked a few spots to either stop at a viewpoint or go for a short walk when we were going around the lake on Google Maps. However, I don't know if it's because of the 3-day weekend or just because it's a nice day out, everywhere we went was impossible to find parking. This set of cars is probably over a mile long before we get to the entrance. Since parking on the side of the highway didn't seem particularly safe, and we also were kind of in a hurry to try and get around the lake before dark, we decided just to keep driving. Once we were back on the California side and about halfway down the west side of the lake, we ended up finding a trailhead that did have parking available. This was the only bookmark I made that we were able to stop at, find parking, and actually do something. So we went for this little hike up to the viewpoint. When we got to the top, we had time to soak in the views before taking any photos, as this couple here was taking a ton of photos. I don't think there was a single pose or angle that they didn't get in. As we approached the town of South Lake Tahoe in Emerald Bay, we ended up seeing a lot more people. Once we got past the cars parked on the side of the road, we ended up just getting parked in the middle of the road as we had about a 45-minute backup to get into town. Once we finally got back to town, we grabbed some food and then headed back to Sacramento. Since we had a flight out on Memorial Day, and it was not until the afternoon, we decided we'd go check out the state capitol. The back of the capitol had a beautiful garden to walk through, and also had quite a few memorials of troops and firefighters. After spending a while exploring the grounds of the Capitol, we decided we would go grab some lunch. Because it was Memorial Day, there were a lot of places that were closed, but we did find a place that had some pretty decent sushi before we headed off to the airport. After a short trip to the airport and a 2-hour flight home, that wrapped up our trip to Lake Tahoe.